Hey, pet parents, this is your natural dog, and today we welcome back one of our favorite guests. This is Krysta Fox, who, if you haven't met her already, Krysta is one of these practitioners in the industry who has so much experience in a number of different settings. She is a registered veterinary technician who's worked in a number of practices around the Chicago area. She's also the co-owner of Pug Hound Pet Apothecary, where she specializes in the best natural products and is really a huge source of information and education in her community. And she's also a writer and just somebody who's really well respected in this community for her knowledge. And today, this conversation with Angela and Krysta just centers around kind of this very present issue of how do we standardize natural products. And so the conversation really is one that is super valuable in learning how to figure out how to read labels, how to understand sourcing, what to ask, and how to know that the products that we're using are truly the highest possible quality and designed to help our pets, and ones that can actually do that. So really informative conversation. Please enjoy Krysta Fox and Angela Ardolino.
I have a 5-year-old border collie named Wednesday who suffers from car ride anxiety and travel anxiety. I have a 9-year-old Great Dane named Moxie who's starting to get arthritic and hard to get up and move around since she's getting older. Then I have a 15-year-old dog named Harley who suffers from severe arthritis and dementias. Wednesday would just sit there and shake the entire car ride, which I didn't want to put her through that, so I stopped bringing her places. Moxie was having a hard time getting up and down the steps and in and out of bed. And Harley, he was having a really difficult time even just getting up from the laying position, and he would whine and cry and bark at night, wouldn't get a full night's sleep. I've tried the other supplements, I've tried prescriptions, and I just didn't really like the side effects. I felt like the bad outweighed the good, so that's when I decided to give hemp oil a try. Since using this product, I can take Wednesday anywhere. I give her hemp oil about 20 minutes before the car ride, and she is good to go. Moxie can run and keep up with her 5-year-old sister, and it's just great to see them playing again. And even Harley can jump up in the couch now, which is great. And even when he is laying on the floor, he goes to get up, and he just pops right up. And it warms my heart. And I'm just using one thing for all my dogs that range from 50 pounds to 145 pounds, and it's all natural, and I know I'm not doing more harm than good.
And we're back with Krysta Fox, and we just need to give you a little warning that if you hear this weird noise in the background, like this very soothing beat of a drum, it's just a dog's tail, and we decided that we were going to go ahead and let it play since that's what it is. Hi, Krysta.
Hi.
How are you?
Xena is here in my lap. She's the one whose tail is wagging, and then Bruce is snuggled
you have to
next
show
to her.
the people who are watching Xena because she's too cute. Hi, Xena. What
Oh
it
my
doing?
goodness.
What
Hi,
it
Mama.
doing?
And there's King Bruce.
There's Brucey. I see
In
him.
his throne.
His
And
bed
there's
is-
the tail.
There's Willie curled up and
Hi, Willie.
couldn't care less like the hound
Everybody
he is.
came out for the pod today.
Yes,
Everybody
indeed.
came. I love it. First of all, I realize that we probably have had you on a couple times, and some people may not even know that you've got some qualifications and what you literally, like I was telling someone about you the other day, and I'm like, she's a vet tech, that she's worked with most of the best holistics in her area. And they're like, I had no idea. So let's start with that. I want to talk about, basically you becoming a vet tech, what you learned, what your experience is, how it ended up that you wanted to open up your own apothecary.
So it's all because of Bruce. Everything I do is because of my little pug, Bruce. But in 2015, he became diagnosed with a spinal cord disease. And at the time, I was working in a little natural pet food shop because I was kind of on my way to knowing this was what I wanted to do. But as his medical problems progressed and, were more complicated, I really just wanted to know more. And the only way I could do that was getting into the veterinary industry. So I started working at a very allopathic practice, just, kind of going through the standard motions, but learning pretty quickly about like what a revolving door practice is like. Like I got to the point where I was like, I can already predict what this dog is going to get. It's just going to get antibiotics and Apoquil and the same old things. So that quickly taught me like, okay, I have this natural knowledge that's evolving because I was already into like more natural supplements and I was going to a holistic vet. And I was like, I really want to be able to mesh these two because I think there's a big gap between, people who want to use natural remedies but still appreciate medicine when it's appropriate. And I think that's where integrative vet med is so beautiful, is because it does both of those things. So after about a year and a half working at that practice, I started working at the holistic practice that I was going to as a client, and just continued to learn more and more, and also started working for two very, very gifted practitioners, Dr. Carl DeStefano and Dr. Dina Jersild, who are chiropractors for animals that focus on functional neurology and applied kinesiology and do things at a much more advanced level of knowledge than your standard animal chiros and vets. And they have just been incredible in terms of my learning journey about all pets, the connections between ourselves and our pets, how important that is, just the parallels you can make between so many natural remedies and our pets, just so much stuff. So after getting to that point where I was like, okay, how do I like share this knowledge more than just like in the practices I'm working at? And I met my husband and we opened up Pug and Hound, which was Bruce and Willie's at first, in 2019. And it is basically a huge educational resource. We have tons and tons of supplements. I think that's what we're most well known for, is our supplement selection. I only carry the best of the best. I have really strict standards when it comes to the supplements that I allow in the store. And we're really just focused on helping people make better decisions, not just like, oh, use this if your dog has, coccidia, and not really explaining it. My whole passion is explaining these things to pet parents in a way that they truly understand why they're doing what they're doing, and makes them a more confident pet parent in the conventional vet office.
Amen.
Where they're not making decisions out of fear. That's what it's all about. If you're an educated person, you don't make these panic decisions. You go, okay, that's your opinion. What about this? And you can have more of a discussion with your vet. They respect you more. It just all works out in the best for you and your pet in the end. So that is what I'm all about, just spreading knowledge and empathy and, helping people understand the connection that they have to their pets and how they can do things a little bit more naturally and not always fall back on drugs.
Love it. And I met you at the Raw. I believe that's the first time I met you, was at the Raw and Natural Dog Summit in 2019.
That picture right there is actually of us at that summit the first time I met you.
And we fell in love, and I fell in love with Bruce, and yes, and have been in touch because, you speak my language. That when I had my shop, it was the same thing. And we did grooming was what brought people in, but what an opportunity to go, hey, these lumps and bumps, or hey, this irritation is probably caused by the food, and here's real, same thing, education. And that's the reason we have you on so often is you are vetting the products, you are in the industry, you know what's going on both in the vet office, the health of dogs, and what people are asking and looking for in stores. And so we wanted to bring you on because I have to address this mushroom debacle or drama that I sit there and go, I can't believe I'm in the middle of one of these dramas, controversy, and then I'm like, oh, wait, is it me? Am I the drama? Kind of thing. Where thanks to you, you're like, yeah, that's what happens to disruptors. That's what happens to people who come in to a space and go, I didn't know this, and go, I could do this better. Or just like you, I wanted to give my dog something better. Like I just... when I really hunkered down on mushrooms when Nina got her diagnosis of osteosarcoma. And really it was I constantly say this to myself as a pet parent, and I'm wondering if you do, where you're doing something and you're like, there's got to be a better way.
Yeah.
there's got to be a better way to get this into my dog. There's got to be a better way for me to store my food, or the bowl I feed, or the crate, or my routine.
Yeah, we're always
constantly
learning. I mean, I just
right.
saw a cool thing about putting like frozen food in little muffin cups and freezing that and then just leaving it out like for their second meal of the day. And I'm like, that's genius. Like,
so
I've
easy.
been using ball jars this whole time. Like, this is so much easier. So there's always cool little things to learn in this community and how to do things better. And that's
Right.
what the age we're living in is so great. We can learn these new techniques and get in touch with these awesome experts to make better products for our pets.
I think what I didn't think would happen, though, because I do know that, you need to reach if you just reach as a business, if you reach 1% of the population, you're doing awesome. I'm just trying to reach my 1% who think or feel like me, because I think if I feel this way, there's someone else out there.
Yeah.
And then when I went ahead and created something and put it out there and everybody went, oh, finally, I was like, oh, okay. There's not just a couple people that feel like me. There's a lot of people that feel like me.
And I'm one of them. I mean, you know that I tried like 5 other brands of CBD, traditional drugs, and I had pretty much given up on this issue Bruce had. And you sent me a free bottle of Heal, and within 2 doses, gone. And I was like, well, I'm sold. I've never seen CBD work like this. This is crazy. So yeah, I'm one of those people.
Made it, right. And it was like I was educated and I didn't think I was going to make a product, but I couldn't find anyone else doing it right. I learned how it was supposed to be grown, how to source the seeds, how we were supposed to manufacture it, how we were supposed to harvest it, how we were supposed to extract it. And then I couldn't find anybody doing it. And the same kind of thing happened when it came to mushrooms, when I purely didn't want to put a whole bunch of powder in my dog's food.
Yeah.
And I do believe that I think that what's different is that CBD was the beginning, but I feel like I'm even earlier on the mushrooms.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Especially when it comes to pets.
Yeah.
But you and I have talked. The reason that I always love to bend Krysta's ears, because we do share, a lot of people come to us as a resource. And this was the first time where I discovered something about a brand that I was using and didn't know how to address it, because I also now have a brand. But this conversation led to us talking about how we're never going to be able to compare things apples to apples when it comes to these things, because everyone does something a little different, and they're not the same.
Yeah.
And you can't standardize nature. Was it you that said that, or Carter? Who came up with that?
That was me.
I was going to say, I think I've said something similar, but not that beautiful of a quote.
That, Carter, is exactly what's going on here. Is that when we talk to Jason, who's our myco-alchemist, who literally does the extraction and makes our products, he's so bothered by all this, because he's like, guys, it's not just about the beta-glucans. It's not just about that.
1,000%.
He goes, you guys got to understand that is a big corporation who's trying to standardize something that can't be standardized, and they're standardizing it in their way, not the way a true herbalist, or he calls himself a myco-alchemist. I don't know what we name somebody who makes mushroom extracts, but a mycologist is someone who studies mushrooms, not necessarily makes them. So myco-alchemist could be a new thing that they call themselves. But
there's just so many parallels between CBD and mushrooms. Exactly. Just like what you said about beta-glucans is like people analyzing CBD content alone without considering the full spectrum, where there's, terpenes, flavonoids, all these other amazing things that go into it that make it as special as it is. So just saying we have a ton of beta-glucans is not the only important factor here. So it's crazy how many more parallels there are. But like you said, there's been a ton of research in cannabis, obviously, and not enough yet in medicinal mushrooms, and not enough standardized testing, because we have labs all over the country that'll test your CBD. But in terms of mushrooms, that's not really a thing yet. So
And the reason that is because there's basically a law in place that says you have to test it. You don't have to test it, but that the labs exist. You have to test it if it's a medical cannabis product. You have to test it. So that's why these labs exist. But I want people to understand that I was in the cannabis industry when these labs weren't all over the place like they are. I remember when California changed their laws in 2018 when they had to make medical and recreational both passed all the tests and not have any of the contaminants or anything in it, because up until that point they didn't do it for medical. So when that happened, there weren't enough labs in California, and you had to test your product in California. They had a huge problem. People who were growing back up in labs for years. Do you know where the product was coming from the dispensaries? It's a cartel, because they could not get enough labs. The state of California was literally offering people to move to California, give them money to open up labs. And literally right now, that's what I'm going through right now.
And I think
we've got 2 people in the United States that are testing liquid extracts.
And I think what makes it even more complicated is that mushrooms are not a plant. They're a whole different thing. And there is so much to understand about them. And I think that's probably part of the reason that the standardization can't be quite nailed down yet, is because there's so many variables to it. Like substrate is a huge one. What you're growing it on can affect so many things, not just the beta-glucan content. It can affect all sorts of things in terms of adulterants that are in there, what kind of VOCs are released when it's extracted. So all of that still has to be fully understood before we can really say, here's the right test that's going to say this is the best. So what we really have to go off, in my opinion, is results. Yay! That's all that it can really speak for them right now, because we just don't have the infrastructure built right now to handle the evolution.
Right. And I completely agree with you. However, people need to realize that a COA, a certificate of analysis, is in 2 parts. One part of the certificate of analysis is showing you what is not in that product. That exists everywhere. All food, everything can go through this type of test. So yes, you always want a COA with any mushroom product that you get to make sure it doesn't have any of those contaminants. The second part of a COA, which I only know about because of cannabis, is showing you that it does have those medicinal compounds in that product, meaning it has the CBD, the CBG, the CBN, a little bit of that THC, the flavonoids, the terpenes, all that stuff. So that doesn't really exist so much widespread on the mushroom thing. And so that's what we're working towards to prove, because it's not just about the beta-glucans like the big manufacturers want you to think it is.
Yeah.
Because then what happens is that everything becomes just like CBD. Everything becomes about CBD. And then people go out and see a product that says 99% CBD, and they buy it because they've learned that that's what's most important, and it's an isolate, and it's actually going to cause damage instead.
Yeah, and going off of numbers.
Right. So now also realize, if you've got a company that's going to concentrate and standardize over beta-glucans, that's all we're going to care about, and that's all we're going to focus on, and literally make a product that shows that they have large beta-glucans in spite of that they didn't do another step in extraction to get more of the medicinal compounds, kind of thing. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. And
so
I don't think anybody is discounting that medicinal mushroom powders are good. What I think people are losing sight of here in this liquid versus powders is what you're using it for. Are you using it for cancer? You're going to need a really large amount. And I think everybody can agree, this is why high potency CBD exists, is because you want to get the most medicine in the smallest dose for our pet's sake, because they don't like taking a lot of things. And if you're loading them up with massive amounts of a volume of a product, they're just not going to like it unless it's a steak. So it depends on what you're using it for. I use both. I use powdered mushroom extracts and medicinal extracts. I say medicinal like the liquid. I use for Bruce's more acute, serious, chronic concerns. And I use the powder to help his gut microbiome, because that's a thing. It's a great prebiotic source. Turkey tail mushroom is like absolutely fantastic for the gut. So we're not discounting that. It's just, we want to know at this point in where we've gotten in the knowledge level that we have, how to find the right product and know what we're getting is pure, clean, safe for our pets and going to do something. Because again, we got to just focus on results here. So I think.
How did you do that? You have a store, and let's pretend you're opening your store today and you're going to choose a powder and a liquid. What are you looking for? And because it's not easy. And again, just like everything else, you and I went through this with Answers Pet Food, where things start one way and then things change because of whether it's profit margins need to be better, or they can't get an ingredient anymore. Whatever the case is, shit changes. And I know that you and I both were with one brand and found out things were being done differently and decided to go a different direction.
And that's the second time it's happened, which just, shows me that there's still, we're always learning. Because the first mushroom brand I did bring into my store 5 years ago, I had no idea it was just ground up mushrooms, that there was really nothing done to extract those mushrooms. And I feel very guilty in hindsight. I didn't know better, so I was doing what I thought was right, recommending these products. But this is the thing. We have to be constantly striving to learn more, even if it hurts our belief system, even if it hurts our bottom line. Answers Pet Food was the #1 source of revenue in my store. I dropped it as soon as that happened. As soon as I knew what was going on with them, there was no way I would safely recommend that to anybody in my store. And that just, it sucks in some ways, but it's beautiful in other ways, because it keeps you humble and it keeps you striving to learn more all the time about these brands to make sure they say what they're doing and they haven't changed. Because I think that's part of the issue is, brands get bigger. They do things to maximize the volume of their product that they can get out there faster because they have a high demand. That's just how business works. But in the pet world, because there's not a whole lot of liability, and in the mushroom world, because there's just not enough knowledge from a pet parent standpoint to know what they're doing, they can get away with that. I'm not happy about that. It's just the way it is. Now, do I think that these other brands are necessarily harming our pets? No, but I don't think they're doing what they should be for what we're asking these products to do.
Yes, I agree. And that's how I feel too. Like, what bothers me at the end of the day is, someone learning that turkey tail extract is great for a dog suffering from cancer and go out and buy a product that is not an extract, it's not grown the right way, and it's not going to help that dog. And it was just like when people would run out and try CBD products and say, Carter, you remember there was a time where me and Carter didn't even want to say that we had a CBD company or worked for a CBD company. We wanted to try everything else but to say that, because everybody and their mother had one. Not anymore. Most of them are gone.
Yeah.
So that's good. But it's because people jump on something, or research comes out, or they prove something and everybody jumps on it. And not everybody is in it for the right reason or to make a good product. The product that I make is really time consuming and really expensive. I launched it, almost 2 years ago, but couldn't even launch it because I wasn't even sure. I was worried that if it got too popular, that I wasn't even going to be able to continue to do it the way I wanted to do it. So that's who I am. So when I get blamed or accused of being otherwise, it blows my mind. That, she's just saying that because she wants to sell products, or she's just saying that because she's retaliating against. No, I don't do that. How
this is simply a matter of trying to educate the pet parent and things getting in the way of that message. I truly believe that. I think that just tends to, unfortunately, muddy information that is solid is when people are like, oh, you're just, trying to sell me something. Like, I even get it in my store. Granted, I don't own a brand, but I own a store and I choose what's in that store. And I get questions like that, like, oh, that's pretty expensive probiotic. What, are you just trying to make money here? It's like, no, this is the best option for what your dog is dealing with. I'm not trying to just sell you something. I'm really trying to help your dog. But there's just
Right. And
that's a
if you knew the
small
margins
percent.
on these things, then you would realize that these things they're not being marked up to the point that any other product on the shelf is.
No,
The profit margins are not high on these really high quality medicinals.
pet, I think honestly most people don't realize that pet businesses are really a different spectrum in terms of, retail margins. Like, people who own pet businesses seriously are not doing this for money.
No.
They are doing it because they love pets and they want to help other pet parents, and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm not rich by any means, but I'm rich in love and happiness and gratitude for what I do, and that makes it worth it.
And you've seen
Oh,
firsthand
yeah.
what real plant and fungi medicine can do, what real food can do for an animal. So they're never going to be able to shut us up because we've seen it, we've done it, we've practiced it. We have, my new thing is Hernando gave me this. He's like, Angie, anytime any of these people upset you, please just go read our reviews.
Yeah.
Thank you. You're right.
Well,
That's
it's
what I
our
need to be
brain's nature
concentrating on.
to only focus on the negative. I mean, that's just unfortunately how we are. But I mean, it's just, it's very frustrating because I think there are the majority of people in this industry that are, like you said, just hopping on to make a buck. And so there's a lot of confusion. And of course there is, especially with medicinal mushrooms, which I could argue are even more rapidly growing and popular than cannabis because there's not this drug idea associated with them. And
Right.
people just see mushroom. They're like, oh, I heard mushrooms are good. And it's like, there's a lot to this. They're bioaccumulators. You really got to consider the research and the data to know what's good and what's not. And it's pretty easy. I mean, I interviewed lots of companies in this recent journey being like, oh, I need to ask some more questions. They'll tell you. They will tell you. Like, there was a company that told me one of their mushrooms came from unknown country. They wrote it on a document that said unknown country. They sent it to me. So it's not like people are hiding this information. It's there, but
No,
it's the
it's
pet
just like-
parent's responsibility to seek it out and understand what is what.
Exactly. If not, walk into your independent pet store and ask them because they're going to they're reading it all. They're keeping track of it. But
Yeah.
that's what's so also alarming is that gets done. And I'm still not okay with that because let's look at the Apoquil pamphlet or small writing that literally says this product will kill you. It will kill your dog. It will give your dog cancer and he'll probably still keep itching. Here's all the cancer that it caused. It doesn't make any effect. People still, they don't even get that pamphlet or go to do
even the
their
commercial
research.
for Apoquil, we've talked about this. It says neoplasia is a side effect. How many standard pet parents know what neoplasia is?
They don't.
Exactly. They just trick people. It's just a lot of deception with words and, oh, we have, they can even use milligrams of mushrooms and people are like, oh, that's high milligram content of mushrooms. It must be good. That means nothing. It means absolutely nothing, but you just fell for a fancy label, which is how dog food in the pet industry and everything is. It's fancy marketing and putting the right words.
Right. But the good thing is that for the most part in this country, you have to list all of the ingredients, inactive or active. So be sure to look at that and then find a source that you trust. And sometimes it may not be a veterinarian or your veterinarian. It may be your independent pet store. But here's the confusion is that mushrooms can be ground up mushrooms or they can be mushroom extracts. And then the subdividing of that is those mushrooms, either one, can be grown on various substrates. So the first thing that I learned about mushrooms was that it was really important, just like hemp, what they're grown on. The difference between mushrooms is that mushrooms literally get their medicinal compounds from what they're growing off of. So and I always bring up chaga. If chaga is harvested from live birch trees, that chaga that's growing on that live birch trees, medicinal compounds, not only is it going to have the beta-glucanic acid, which is the main awesome compound that makes it so incredible, if that chaga is grown on anything else, it is not going to have those medicinal properties. And it certainly is not going to have beta-glucanic acid. And if I'm saying it wrong, I probably am, but I know what I'm talking about. So you're not going to get that when it's grown on rice, oats, straw, sawdust, anything. It's not going to have it in there. So when I learned that, I became the psycho purist person who always wants to strive to make the very best product. And sometimes it's going to be the more expensive product. I try my damnedest to bring it down. I even brought my prices down by figuring out, because
I think you're one of the only manufacturers I've ever seen do that, honestly.
Oh, thank you.
Which speaks to your integrity quite a bit.
Well, and you were my first store because I was like, all right, let's try this out. Bear with me. I have no idea how to dose it or to even say what's in it, because if I compare it to what everybody else is doing, it makes no sense. Like I would send all of Namek's and Real Mushrooms information to Jason, and he'd be like, I don't understand this. I don't know how, this makes no sense to me. This isn't what I do. I can tell you about what I do, but this makes no sense, kind of thing.
And that's, I think, what we all have to focus on is why this is great and why we choose this.
Right.
Not saying that everything else in existence is bad. It's just like HPP. You know, it's there's ways to do it that work, but if you're not comfortable with it, don't do it. Whatever, it's your choice, but here's the information.
And also understand if when everybody comes out and says HPP is wrong, they're going to just go turn around and change it and call it something else anyway.
Yeah.
Which is, what happens anyway. But my point is that I went to my mushroom expert to have him explain something to me, and he is an expert and he couldn't because it wasn't what he did, which is my point is that another mushroom company can't talk about what I do. And can't put out a picture that says liquids are only 10% medicine and 90% vegetable glycerin, which is not true. So that's kind of like my point there. So powders, extracts, then we have to break it down to which ones are grown on, what substrate.
Substrate and adulterants, I think, are the two main issues. And substrates, I think are more straightforward if a company will be honest with you, but adulterants are not so straightforward because, just like cannabis, you can do things and your COA might come out all right and, your lab results look the right way, but there are things that happen when you add chemicals that we can't necessarily test yet, and we're not really sure how that's going to affect our dogs. So that's important, is to try to get down to what is the most pure and in nature that we can get, because then we can be pretty sure that we're not dealing with adulterants and extra things that we're not aware of. Because
how do you spot an adulterant in a mushroom product?
It's next to impossible if the company is not honest about their manufacturing. But I'll say that I think you can spot some red flags before you necessarily even get to that conclusion. The smell of the product, just the appearance of the product, the taste of the product, those are all indicators of how that product came to its final state. And there are mushroom products out there, powdered mushroom products, that don't smell like anything. They are meant to be still kind of this live thing that you're giving. We always want to feed real food, add life to the bowl, like Green Juju says. Like we want to keep things as close to nature as possible. So if something is just kind of dead and devoid, and again, if you're not seeing results from it, probably a good idea that this isn't what it says it is. And obviously, if you're seeing a negative effect from it, then that's even more of a sign that something's off, because mushrooms shouldn't be causing any sort of ill effect. And I'll say I'm a great example of that. I can't tolerate taking many mushrooms. They give me really bad GI issues. And after talking to someone who's an expert in mushrooms, I learned that's probably not the mushroom that's causing that issue. It's how the mushroom was processed, and I'm just more sensitive to it, because there are very few mushroom products, yours being one of them, that I can take without having severe issues. But the rest of them out there, I kind of gave up. I'm like, I guess I just can't do mushrooms. I can't tolerate them. But then you find one that you can, and it goes, right. There was something in that product.
It was the same thing with CBD. And I remember talking to you in the very beginning where I was like, I'm worried that people are going to take the mushrooms and think that they're going to feel it within a day or two, like they do the CBD, and they do. I didn't even know that that was going to be a thing because I was a powder user. I was, one of those. I didn't stop until Nina refused it and was like, stop putting all this shit in my food. I don't want to eat it anymore.
Yeah, and that's with any supplement. I mean,
Right.
there's lots of them where like customers will be like, I have to give how much in their bowl? They're not going to do that.
Right.
Whereas the beauty of liquids is, I mean, especially that it's suspended in glycerin, it tastes sweet to them. Bruce will lick it right off the dropper. He loves it. He hates his herbs that are given to him beforehand. He's like, "Blah." But then the mushrooms, he's like, oh, okay, tasty, yummy.
Oh, he's
and that makes everything so much better from every perspective when you don't have that stress associated with dosing and just being more confident, like, okay, it's all in there. It's getting on their gum line. It's going to get absorbed really quickly. I can say that the lion's mane mushroom in the clarity, there has been multiple people at this point that have been like, wow, what a difference within a day or two. One of my employees has a 14-year-old cockapoo, and she's like, I couldn't even believe he stopped getting lost in the house. Now he's back to his old sassy self, and it was within a few days.
I know, it's
That's
magic.
amazing.
I know.
That's what makes our jobs worth it, is when people come back and they're like, oh my God, what is in that stuff? It works so well. I get it all the time with the CBD when people are like, I don't know what's in this magic potion, but it's working really well. And it's like, yay, please never stop telling me that.
I'm a witch. A witch and a bitch. I get called both all the time. And yes, I am.
Yeah. That'll be the next rumor.
Oh no, it's already out. Another thing when you're looking for adulterants, that what helped me spot them was looking at the inactive ingredients.
Yeah.
And also constantly questioning why things are done the way they are. Like, I even remembered with the powdered brand that I chose, asking, why China? And they're like, well, that's China. We know China is literally where shiitake was born.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand the significance. And that is not always why someone is growing in China. So, I took that as the reason. But then you have to ask why more and dig deep. Like, why are we drying a liquid extract? Why are we doing that? Is it because, and one of the positives are because I don't have to put any preservatives in it, and I just have pure extract and whatever. You still need the little what's the little thing that keeps moisture out? You still need one of those
silica packets. Yeah.
Yeah, you still need one of those if you don't have a preservative. But other than that, the reason is, and then, okay, so you dry it. Okay, so let's say it's dry because cost. You're shipping it from China. Of course, shipping a powder is going to be a lot more cost effective than shipping a liquid. Fine. But why are you spray drying? Like, even went down that rabbit hole. And then literally I found a piece of research that explained everything. And I want people to know that that's what I go through when I am making a product. Why is that company doing it that way? Why are all of these experts doing it that way? Why is the authority doing it that way? And that's why I'm not always so popular, because I'm asking lots of questions, and then I become labeled a troublemaker, a disruptor. And literally this happened in cannabis, and I got kicked out of organizations that I helped start. And then I feel like I'm just now starting something with mushrooms, but I'm starting it with like-minded. So hopefully liquid people will
just got to embrace it at this point. It's tough when you're on the cutting edge and when you're an innovator. I mean, there's plenty of real world examples in every industry to show that that's the case. It's when companies have been doing things the same way for decades upon decades and they're in their comfy bubble, someone comes and disrupts it. It's pretty natural that they're going to get upset about it. And I mean, it's happened in every industry there is. When someone comes in, I mean, I can even imagine in the regular human supplement industry when liposomal products became popular. I'm sure all the people that were making non-liposomal products were pretty pissed off. Like, no, this is how we've always done it. What the hell is this stuff? Like,
right.
This
or
is
the
how
people that were
grow.
already doing it liposomal, but didn't tell everybody what liposomal was.
Exactly.
And I was like, yeah, we're doing that. Or, where people go, just the other day, someone said, do you have CBDA in your products? I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
Can I buy that by itself? Sure. Yeah, you can. What will it do? I'm not sure. And it's not
Yeah.
going to stay that way. Actually, the person who asked me works for another CBD company. So I was literally educating them on what you need to do to keep CBDA stable and whatever. And to me, it's just another, I'm like, it's in our stuff. We have it. We're full spectrum. It's in there.
I have a 15-year-old dog named Harley, and he's beginning to suffer from dementia, CCD. He was barking and whining and getting lost throughout the house in the middle of the night, which was really heartbreaking to watch. And then I found the mushroom mixture tincture, and those symptoms subsided, and it was almost a miracle. Instead of having to add, different powders and pills, and just 2 droppers of the mixture, and it does the trick. He sleeps through the night comfortably, right where he's supposed to be in his bed, and I don't find him wandering, and which helps me get a better night's sleep as well. So it is truly miraculous what the mushroom mixture tincture has done.
I think the other thing, we kind of backtracking about the powders thing. I think the other reason, I don't think that every single powdered mushroom extract supplier manufacturer does it just because of cost. I do think
right.
there are legit products out there, and I know who they are. I'm not going to name brands here, that are doing it because they want to make an extremely powerful functional food. That's what they want to do. What we want to do at MycoDog is focus on, something that's as close to medicine as you can get without becoming pharmaceutical grade purified nonsense that ends up harming animals.
Right.
And I mean, even understanding what a spagyric tincture is, that's very new stuff for most pet parents. And I mean, not to most herbalists. Most
you
herbalists
notice I
know
didn't
what it
even
is.
put it on the label because I didn't want to have to explain it. It's on the label now. Change your labels and put it on there.
Thanks. Now I have to explain it.
But the other thing is that we put triple extraction, like hoping that would get through, but also triple extraction is used differently. You even found someone who called triple extraction and they were steaming. Like there's different ways people do things. And so I believe that the ground up mushroom powder and the mushroom powder extract are both good sources of food also, like you do. And I love how this from the beginning, Krysta was like, one's medicine, one's food, and they're both extremely important. But even when you eat these mushrooms as food, they do become medicine. They literally give your cells like energy to go kill anything else that's bad in your body, viruses, bacteria, cancer, rogue cells. I love that they even take the beta-glucans of the good mushrooms, and it helps them recognize when a bad fungal infection or mold or something does enter the body. It literally powers them to go, nope, that's not one of us. Get rid of him.
Fungi are just so incredible. It's amazing all the things they can do. And like I said, it's kind of like the microbiome. We're just scratching the surface and just, trying to make the best product that possible given the knowledge we have. And the results do speak for themselves, which is really all you need in the end, because that's the thing about natural medicine. I'm sure we know there's lots of studies on mushrooms, which is a good thing to bring up if you're really looking to understand this data, is to, look up PubMed, NIH. There's actual like mainstream sources, mainstream medicine sources that acknowledge the use of these things and why they're important. And that's one step of understanding all of this, but we still don't have enough.
Right. And don't forget that I forgot the percentage of antibiotics on the market are all come from a mushroom. They're all just like we talk about. You can't
penicillin.
You can't patent nature. So we just take one compound out of that mushroom and literally make a medicine out of it. So when people are like, oh my gosh, I'm allergic, or, I can't, I'm like, it's literally what medicine is made out of in the first place. And you do. I think that's a really good point. I know with all of my products, even my favorite products of my other herbal products that I use, I have results within 24 hours.
Yeah.
Even with my digestive aids, or if somebody gets something or into something, I see results within 24 hours. So I really feel like people who are piling supplements on and not sure whether they're doing it or not, look, you should be able to tell. You should be able to tell within a couple days, is this doing what it says it can do?
And that's precisely why I've said on other podcasts, like, just take it slow. Do one thing, leave it for a week, track, look at it. Because if you add like 5 things all at once, you're never going to know what's working. It's just, I've done it so many times. It took me years and years of doing this with Bruce to learn, like, get out a freaking calendar or a notebook, write it down, wait, then make a judgment. Not like, well,
did you learn that because you had to do it with your own health? Because that's
yeah. Because my husband was like, why are you expecting this to happen in overnight? Like, you got to give these things time, because how natural medicine, especially cannabis and fungi, work is with your body. And if your body is all broken, you're not going to be able to repair that overnight. Now, of course, the thing is with animals, they seem to be more sensitive to these things than people do, and usually less metabolic disease because they're not eating all the crap that we're eating. Right. So they tend to be a little bit more sensitive. And I think we see results a lot more with pets because they don't have an emotional burden component usually. There's no placebo effect with dogs. They don't know what you're giving them. You just see the results. That's the beauty of pets. And I think that's why pets are more fun to deal with anyways. They're happier little patients. They're just grateful.
I've changed more people's health through their dog.
The parallels are endless.
And where they're like, I always wait for it. Can I take it? Absolutely. Absolutely, you can. Really? And I'll have the same effect? Absolutely.
Yeah, people do it at checkout all the time. Like, oh, I need to take some of this. I'm like, you can. The whole staff does. We do. Like, trust me, this is good stuff. It's not bacon flavored junk like you get at the gas station. Like, this is going to help you. This is the beauty of real plant medicine that's just pure, is you don't have to worry about these things about, flavorings and extra crap being added to it that makes it somehow safe only for one species and not another. Right. These things are meant to be consumed by all mammals. We just have to do things the right way so that they're safe and we see awesome results and we're not wasting our money.
That's right. What we need is the same thing that our pets need: real food, real natural medicines that aren't going to frickin' kill us. Yes, there's a place for conventional medicine and antibiotics and steroids. I'm not saying that, but the abuse, of these prescription meds and antibiotics and steroids, both on humans and on animals, is out of control.
And the lack of open-mindedness about alternatives is infuriating.
And I also want people to understand that that this information is being kept from you. This is literally why she has a store and why I have a podcast, is that this information is not going to be told to you on the news. It's probably not going to be written in the newspaper or magazine. As a matter of fact, my next guest is a hero of mine who is a herbalist and spagyrist and whatever. And we just found a wonderful letter from the FTC and FDA telling her she's not allowed to talk about herbal remedies that will help people if they get COVID.
Of course.
Or what herbal remedies they could take to help prevent them from getting it in the first place. And she's got a letter telling that she needs to take all this information off of her site. And this is what happens.
I mean, there's a great example. One of my favorite supplement companies, and I think honestly what got me started in this whole world, Amber Naturals. Mm-hmm. I can't imagine how many letters they've gotten because they've had to change their products' names and labels so many times. And when I have to explain that to a consumer, like HWF, their product is a great example. They're like, well, why can't they just say heartworm free? I'm like, well, I guess you don't know much about the FDA and the supplement industry. Let me explain to you how they try to make everyone's lives difficult and make accessing resources to natural information harder and harder and harder. Like, this is an uphill battle we all face. And it's unfortunate that we can't just be educators. And yes, we have to make a living, so we may have to sell something, but we're doing it in earnest. Like, this is the problem, is that people have lost trust in everything. And there's only a few of us out there really trying to do the right thing here, but also acknowledging, like, there's still a lot to learn. I've made mistakes. I've brought products into my store that have changed or lied to me, and I've had to kick them out. I had to kick out 2 other food companies. This is what matters. And I think from a pet parent standpoint, this is also what to look for in your indie pet retailer. Are they just selling you the same stuff you see ads for? Or are they actually going to take the time to explain to you why they believe in this product, what they know about the brand, how they're confident in recommending this product, instead of just like, here, this is a good one. Here's some Zesty Paws chews for you. Amazon says they work. So it's tough. It's a tough world, but there's a lot of good people out here.
As the pet parent, as the person who vets all the products, how the hell does a pet parent choose a mushroom supplement for their pet?
Well, I think first and foremost, it depends on the pet's need, what they're looking for. I have customers who say, my dog has cancer, and what can I do? So I'm going to recommend a liquid spagyric tincture that's very concentrated that they can get a very high dose in. I have customers whose dogs are healthy and they just want to give them an added immune boost because they go to doggy daycare. They might have a little bit of, looser stool, things like that. Then I'm going to say, here's a mushroom extract. You can just put this in the food. It's a low maintenance dose. It's kind of like CBD in food, right? Like you can give it in the food.
You said put a mushroom extract. You meant the powder?
Yeah, powder. Okay. I thought I said that. My mind's...
Okay. Oh,
I need more lion's mane.
You and I are like extract powder, extract liquid.
Extract powder. So it depends on the pet parent's need, first and foremost. And the other determining factor would be the pickiness of the pet. There are people that I recommend a powdered extract and they go, well, what does that taste like? I'm like, I'm not going to lie. It's got a little bit of bitterness to it naturally. So if you have that 5-pound Maltese that doesn't want to eat anything other than the junk that they like to eat, then I'm going to still recommend a liquid at just a lower dose, at a lower maintenance dose. So it depends entirely on the need. Cost shouldn't be as much of a concern because good mushroom products are going to cost more. And if you're paying $20-$30 for a jar, it's probably not the greatest stuff in there, because there's no way that they're using just pure mushrooms, because they cost a lot more than that would add up to in that jar. So there's something else in there.
Oh, and in a liquid, man, let me tell you what, it's got to. I just saw that Host Defense has a liquid now, and I'm like, oh my gosh. Or who, the one of the biggest suppliers, Namex, provides their powders to other people who then take that powder and put it in liquid. And that's what people think our product is. And I'm like, no, that's not what our product is.
Yeah, there's just so much confusion. I can't blame a pet parent for being confused. So it is tough, but that's why you gotta search out good information and then make an educated decision based on your pet's need and the information you found. And the information is out there. These companies are telling you. You just have to seek out the information, read it, and then make a decision. Not just go, well, everyone buys this one, I'm gonna buy this one. No, like do some research. This is your pet's health you're talking about. They're important. They deserve you taking 15-20 minutes to read through a site and understand where they're getting their mushrooms from and how they're making them. Exactly. That's all you have to do. And then you can choose from there. It's up to you.
And if you can't find a COA, it's going to be my same message of CBD. If you can't find it, or no, they don't give it to you, don't buy the product. Don't trust anybody. They could be the biggest company in the world. If they don't give you a COA for the product you're buying, don't buy it. They're not proving what's in it. So don't do it.
Batch by batch.
Batch by batch.
A lot of them will leave a COA up there from 2019. So
because nobody's asking for them, so they don't think it's important. Like the only reason some CBD companies are putting it up is because we made it a thing. So check it. Make sure it's actually a valid one, that it matches your batch and all that.
Just take the time, do the research. Pets deserve it. And then you can make a confident decision and not be confused by drama or banter. And you can go, nope, I know this one's good because it does X, 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 all these things that are on my list of what makes a good supplement. And let the rest just go.
Thank you, Krysta.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I always appreciate you guys.
Thank you so much. Have a good one.
You too.